up, Fry?
What's up? What's up? A little something. Welcome to King Conversations. My name is Chris Evans. I'm here with the illustrious Terry Riley, the community activist, community man, family man, alpha man, just all the things.
Hey, Chris, it's always good to be with you, man. Just good to be here today on King Day.
Dr. King, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah.
Holiday. Day of service. Did you get anything in this morning?
Yes. In fact, my family and I went over to St. James United Methodist Church where we go to church. We just volunteered down first we were in the food pantry, reorganized the entire pantry. But today, being there, I said, wow, these people put in so much work here at the pantry because there was so much to move around and so much to get organized. But we actually had fun doing it. Of Calvary, Kia, and Eli. We had a good time doing it. And we kind of reshuffled the entire, we also give away clothes at St. James, and so we just got that reorganized as well. So that was my day of service, coupled with Reverend Miles. Got to give him a shot today. We helped a family otherwise that would have been homeless today to get a hotel for the rest of the week until they can actually move in. And so I want to give a shout out to Reverend Miles and the work that he does in this community.
Okay, excellent. My family and I, we were at the Emmanuel Cleaver YMCA. So Congressman Cleaver actually stopped in. We were there on behalf of Jack and Jill doing some different community service projects. So it was a good day for us as well. It's also Inauguration Day, man. I mean, we got a new president.
Yeah, we do.
We got a new president today.
I'm going to jump to Cleaver, and then I'm going to go into this inauguration. But interesting fact, I was talking with Congressman Cleaver about 3 years ago, and we were talking. He's like, all right, Terry, I'm in D.C., go ahead and shoot me a prayer because I do prayers with them. And so I said, Rev, do you know who named Emmanuel Cleaver Boulevard after? He said, no. Oh, I said, I did.
Wow.
He said, really? And so that's an interesting fact.
Okay.
Cleaver asked me to go get 12th Street named after Gates. Okay. I went to meet with Mr. Gates. Mr. Gates told me, he didn't ask, go get Emmanuel Cleaver, that named after Emmanuel Cleaver. So that's what I ended up doing.
Wow. What year was that?
Wow,
in the
like
90s?
2006?
No.
2007? No.
It was before then.
Like 2006, yeah. I can go back and look at the ordinance, but that's when it was actually...
Really?
That's when it was done. Yeah, when I was on the city council.
I thought it was in the 90s.
No, he was still in office in the 90s.
But Cleaver was responsible for redoing that entire Brush Creek corridor.
Absolutely.
I was explaining that to my wife earlier today, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
Used to look, and then that was one of the main things that he did when he was mayor.
Absolutely. The U.S. Corps of Engineers, along with the city, have been putting money in there for years. I can remember when Mr. Gates was about to build his new place, and we did the first super TIF, tax increment financing, on the east side of Troost. And that's how he was able to get his corporate headquarters there. Also was able to develop his new place right there on 47th Street. And actually, Ollie Gates owns everything from Troost all the way over to Purcell. That's all of his land. So anyone that's renting there, and so he's not just a barbecue icon, he's a real estate mogul as well. So.
Right, and of course my family has seen that, having been on 12th Street since 1985.
Absolutely.
And how much of 12th Street in that area, from 12th Street to Truman Road, from Purcell to Prospect. So definitely a real estate family. Definitely a real estate family.
Absolutely. Okay, the big question today. I had the opportunity to speak on a panel the other day and talk about politics and history and where do we go from now.
What panel was this?
Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Beta Lambda chapter here in Kansas City had a panel. It was myself, Reverend Edwards from Reverend Edwards, I got to think of his church, I'm going crazy, and also Dr. Howard, Vernon Howard, the president of SELC. And we were just talking about where do we go from here. And one of the things I think we need to do right now is start to engage people in our community way before the election comes.
Right. So just back up for a second. When you say where do we go from here, who is the we that you're including? Is it Kansas City? Is it the African Americans in Kansas City? Is it the country? What level of conversation was this?
We were speaking to the African American community. Where do we go from here? But also it's up to us to get our friends and other colleagues to come along.
Okay.
But before we even do that, there's one thing we need to do. Stop the talk and formulate an agenda. That's something that I used to talk to Pops about all the time. Mr. Evans, he's like, hey, everybody, these are you guys are so eloquent. Y'all so smart. He used to say that. He said, but let's put it on paper.
Right.
And that's what we need to do as a community, because you can get as emotional as you want to, have your barbershop talk, beauty shop talk. But beyond that, where do we go as a community? And one of the things we're looking at, because I'm past president of the National Black Caucus of local elected officials, all the black mayors and city council members, we're currently working, even though I'm an ex-officiary board member, to create an agenda that you still take to the White House.
Right.
You can't just say, oh, that dude or that guy is in the White House. Okay, he's there.
Right.
You are the president of the United States of America. And this is what we want from the National Black Caucus of local elected officials, black mayors, black city council members, National Association of County Officials. Here's the agenda here, National Association of School Board members. And so we're convening meetings now as we speak to talk about formulating these things instead of just sitting around and being mad for 4 years.
Right.
What do we plan on doing? And that's what we're looking at.
Okay. How did that conversation go? Yeah.
It's going great. A follow-up meeting is happening in February in Washington, and then the next meeting will be taking place in March.
Okay.
And what we're doing is bringing in facilitators that actually scribe everything down, write it out, and say, okay, here's the agenda. These are the policy issues we would like to take forth to the Congress.
Right.
And these groups are part of the National League of Cities. And what National League of Cities does is they represent cities, towns, and villages across the country, and they create an agenda to take to the Congress. And over the years, what we've been able to do is, through the Black Caucus, we have a policy committee, formulate the policy, then take that policy and go lobby your representatives on the Hill face to face.
Right.
Instead of just being in the neighborhood, hey, we need this. No, that's good. But what are we taking to the next level that is documented, and we say this is what we want for our community. And so that's what we're doing.
So how do you think Kansas City ranks in that? I know, was it National League of Cities had a convention here, a conference, or was it National League?
Yeah, National League Cities was here 2 years ago.
Okay.
U.S. Conference of Mayors was here this summer.
Right. So with them coming to Kansas City, I mean, Kansas City is obviously a great city throughout the country. How do you think we rate in getting together and getting things done in our community? You have opportunity to network and meet with a lot of people like yourself in other major cities. Are we kind of middle of the road? Are we ahead? Are we behind? What do we need to do?
I think we're in the middle of the road, probably a little bit further in the middle of the road. We are very fortunate to have Congressman Emmanuel Cleaver. He is one of the most respected congressional members in the country. Right. He brings back a ton of resources to Kansas City. He, everywhere you look, from the Buck O'Neill Bridge, or looking at the revitalization of 18th and Vine or something in downtown, his fingerprints are on them, because Emmanuel Cleaver is the ranking member of the Financial Services and Housing Committee. And people are like, okay, what does that mean? Okay, as the ranking member, you and whomever is the chair, and he used to be the chair until the Congress term, you are able to give resources to your community. Okay. He is probably the most knowledgeable individual in the U.S. Congress on that subcommittee in the areas of insurance and housing. Wow. And then during the appropriations process, being a senior member, you're able to get appropriations to bring back to your city. And he's been doing that.
Okay. What's the latest on what's the housing on 12th Street off Truman Road? The development, Parade Park. What's the latest on Parade Park?
Parade Park has been purchased. Okay. And 12th Street Heritage is one of the co-developers on it. Okay. And they partner with a large conglomerate outside of Kansas City, and that project is a $300 million project.
What are they gonna put there?
They're going to do condos and single family dwellings there. Yes.
Subsidized homes, market rate homes, a mix?
It's going to be a mix of market and now it's called workforce housing. Yeah. Excellent. And so Dwayne Williams and that group, they're doing a great job. They're building that project. Emmanuel Cleaver was intrinsically involved in that as well. He's put up a lot of money to make sure that project moves forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What else you got on the horizon?
Man, I'm just trying to be a good dad, man. Kids in school.
How old are your kids now?
Noah is a young freshman at Dillard University, and I tell you, I should have followed you and your wife's path from the beginning. HBCU, man, it just seems like it's a home away from home.
Right.
The staff is great there. They're hard, but they make sure our kids stay focused on what you're there for. And so he's really enjoying that time. He's 18. He'll be 19 next summer, which is really a young freshman. Yeah. And so most parents say, hey, I'm going to just let you go. And, you know, I said to Noah, Noah, how can we really help you?
Right.
He said, man, I really don't like y'all calling me. He said, but if you can just give me a little nudge to just make sure I stay focused. I said, okay, I appreciate you being honest. Because most kids, oh, I got this.
Right.
And he said that. And so he's doing well down there. In Calvary, of course, is over at St. Teresa's Academy. She's running the place. And I mean,
what grade is Calvary in?
She's a sophomore.
Sophomore, wow.
I mean, incredibly connected. Calvary came home one day and said, hey, Dad, there's a guy by the name of Terry Dunn or something. His granddaughter goes to school with me. He said he wants you to reach out and call him. Does he supposed to be a big deal in Kansas City?
Dunn family.
I said, just a tad bit, just a tad bit. I mean, but Calvary, she can move in those circles with ease, right. And she will do well. And Eli is just the most easygoing kid on the planet. He doesn't require a lot. Eli he can say, oh, I want to have a birthday party, but here are my 5 friends. Nobody else. That's it.
Right.
Save your money.
So he's not in the limelight like his dad.
I'm not in the limelight. No, I used to be in public office. I enjoyed serving people. And even now, man, just behind the scenes, it's just kind of fun to just do stuff for people.
Right.
And nobody knows.
So the $1 million question is, will Terry Riley run for any office, any local offices, national offices? Do you see that? And I mean, you say Calvary is a sophomore, Eli's what, 7th, 8th grade?
8th grade.
So they'll be out the house in 5 years. I mean, what do we see in the future?
Is this a setup question? Because I know my wife is looking at this and she's like, Terry, don't run.
Right. I mean, and if you don't know, you just don't know. I mean, you may be open to it. Or...
No, man, I'm really enjoying my time right now as an executive over at Blue Cross Blue Shield. It's been fun. Love the job. And the good thing is when you can actually go out there and do some good for people. Right. And one of my biggest contracts, of course, is the city of Kansas City. Got very good relationships there. The police department, school district, KCK, KC, Missouri, have Lee Summit, Raytown. So wow. I'm pretty busy.
So all this the negative press that has come down on insurance companies, has that impacted any of the things that you do or your daily?
Well, you just keep your head on a swivel.
Right. Okay.
I mean, and it negatively impacted the industry, because after that, I mean, people started attacking United Healthcare and other CEOs just online with propaganda.
Right. And
just really it was kind of devised to separate people, create anxiety, and it's right now there's no safeguards online to protect anyone from anything anybody says about you, and so they can say anything. So. But CEOs around the country, they have security. Okay. And so it's created some angst and also another level of security. And it's already very secured and anyway, as an insurance company, it's always a very tight community, but it's even more so now.
Right, right. Let's jump back to Noah and baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all have had I coached Noah when he was what, 6 years old in
No.
T-ball.
Nope, 4.
Yeah, he was 4.
Yeah, he was 4.
Wow.
So you've been around,
He
Chris.
was still one of the biggest ones. Everybody else was 5 and 6. Noah was Noah was 4 running things, the general.
Yeah.
But I was blessed to coach him at that age, and then blessed to coach him in high school before he went off to college. So y'all have had a long journey with youth sports.
Yeah.
As a parent that's been through it, what would you do differently? What did you enjoy? What recommendations do you have for people that are seeing this, that have a 7, 8-year-old and they're thinking about, really taking on these competitive sports?
Man, baseball's tough, and it takes a full court press with parents. One of the things we must work with our kids on is the mental toughness side of the game, because you will be hazed by other folks. Mm-hmm. And particularly, if you're in the suburb, you could be one of 15 on your team African American.
Right.
And some people embrace diversity, but some don't. Okay. And so they will work you mentally.
Right.
And so I'm glad that I'm a parent that asks a lot of questions along with my wife. And we just, hey, what's going on with you? Right. I mean, what's going on in your mind right now? You just finished. What was said today? How were your friends? What was the best part of your day today at practice? What was the worst? Right. And then when you get to that worst part, you will hear some of the things that other kids had to say to them. But early, I would recommend batting practice for all of our kids, pitching practice early. Because when you can do more than just hit and field, adding that next level of pitching can be helpful too. Right. Number 3, there's a lot of African American kids that got rifles for arms, man. We need to get them in that pitching mode earlier. It's a little bit more of an investment. And a lot of parents, as you know, Chris, they didn't want to pay the $25 fee, better yet, for hitting. Better yet, $2,500. And so, man, in a perfect world, if I had a lot of money, I would come on back. Well, I'm already here in the community. Right. I would just pay for strength and endurance training for our kids, right. Pay for batting, pay for pitching, also tutors to make sure our kids are, intellectually ready to go off to college and compete both academically and athletically, right. Where they go as scholar athletes and just not an athlete. Most of our kids get looked at as just athletes, but take a look at your son. He used his competitive nature. Super proud of Isaiah and what he's doing. He used his competitive nature in the classroom that he had in baseball. Right. And when I heard him speak and he talked about all these, I have a 4.0, I have this. It's like, I could do this too. But he put his mind to it. And that helped Noah with his transition to Dillard. Because if Noah didn't have a 3.56, you wouldn't have been able to transfer and get transferred dollars.
Definitely the capital.
Grades count. And so, and just, I'm glad I let him play another sport, even though I didn't want him to play another sport.
You're pretty good in football.
Just to, he is real good, but I'm glad he didn't play. Okay. Yeah, he can play, man. And just for them not to just be so zeroed in on it, because it's a stressful process. And a lot of kids and parents, I think they do too much too early. Mm-hmm. They start at 12 years old and 13 thinking their kids are going to get signed somewhere. And any kid that gets signed in the 9th grade or 8th grade, 95% is a proven and research fact that they will not go to that institution when they graduate. Mm-hmm. And some people, I'm committed to MU. I know a kid that was committed to MU in the 8th grade. Right. Yeah. And he didn't go to MU. And so I just think it's too much pressure on our kids early on. And just let them be kids. Let them have fun. And you will see if they have the skill set to make it to the next level.
What is the high-level recruiting process from high school to college? Like, describe what that process was like for your family and how intense it was, because everybody says, I want to go D1. But they don't realize how much research is required, how many visits you need to do, how much you need to know about the school, what's a good fit. What advice do you give people, and students and families, that say, I want my child to play college sports? Because you've been through to lay it out there, you've been through the process, then you went to the portal and went through the process again. And so, what advice do you give to people regarding that?
Wow. One is make sure your kid and or kids, if you have more than one, are making the grades.
Okay.
Have the grades, because it's so much easier for them to accept you at that university when you have the grades.
Okay.
There's always exceptional athletes everywhere in the country. So number one is grades. Number two, attitude. Keep your kid a good attitude. Make sure that they do some of the old school things. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. This one Coach Noah said, yes, ma'am. I mean, yes, sir. Yes, sir. So many, he was like, just stop calling me sir.
Right.
But they were like, wow, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing is let the process play out. Your 9th grade year, your 10th grade year, just play ball, man. And if you want to do it on the next level, find a good travel team, but find a team, man, that cares about, helping kids develop.
Right.
And not just playing kids to win, because I've seen kids just about get their arms thrown out because they're good pitchers. They got them pitching every game, and that's not good. And even in football, kids are out there injured playing the game because their parents have that dream for them to make it.
Right.
But you must do strength and conditioning if you want your kid to go from 9th grade all the way throughout. We started working out with Noah when he was in the 9th grade. He got a trainer, probably 10th grade. He got a trainer. And when Noah played football and all that, people were like, man, he never gets tired. He has a trainer.
Right.
And he learned how to lift weights the right way. Unfortunately, a lot in high schools, being in football, basketball, track, volleyball, or tennis, or what have you, people are not getting their kids fit.
Right.
And prepared to compete at the next level. But you can see it in the suburbs, because there's times when we've seen some of our kids get hit by a ball and they're like, oh, then you go out to the suburb, they get hit by a ball and they're like, that's nothing. Right, that's nothing. But just having the training there for them, so that when they walk out on the field, it's an even playing field.
Right.
And so, really, most things start happening your junior year in high school. The summer of Noah's junior year is when it all really happened. The sophomore year, he had a very hot streak over that summer, did very well. But the summer of his junior year is when we really saw the scouts, and they would come up to you. And he was playing, and they were like, hey, man, we want to talk to him. And they'll be right there behind home plate. All of them are right there, and just build, relationships. But don't be one of those parents, being in football, basketball, track, or whatever sport, out there cursing, and just character counts.
Right.
And parents count even more.
So you're saying the scouts and recruiters, they're not just looking at the player, they're looking at their entire family.
They're looking at the entire family. And so if you're a parent out there, and we know a couple of them that, oh my God, it was just, some people just destroy their children's opportunities by their mouths. Wow. And cursing and, going up to them, hey, this is my son. No, they see your son, right. But they see you too. And so it's very important for the parent to operate with character out there, because some parents are right. Interesting.
What kind of system did you use to evaluate different baseball teams, different schools, different programs? Did you start with schools that had his major? Did you start with schools that he liked or schools that liked him? How do parents begin to sift through all of that information?
I mean, when he went to Northwest, he fell in love with their communications department. Okay. When he went in there, I thought it was over, because he stayed in there an hour. They were talking about, man, you could do your own podcast, you can do your radio show. They had NPR for the whole region there. They said, you can do sports, you can do this. He's like, man, this is everything, And so we talked to other colleges, but we also looked at every team, and we looked at their diversity as well.
Okay.
And many of those that were out there didn't have the diversity, and we talked about diversity.
Right.
You can't be scared to talk to these coaches about what's important to you and your family. And so we were not scared of that. And of course, you know, with my wife, she's not scared to ask any questions. And so, and Kia was just dogged, you know, with all the rules, NCAA rules and recruiting rules, and like, here, take a look at this, here, look at that. I'm like, okay, what you need me to do? And so we just tag teamed the process in and did an evaluation and just said, hey, dude, where do you want to go?
Right.
And see who's responding. And as soon as we signed, there were other schools knocking at the door.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God. And the good thing about right now is Noah always wanted to go to an HBCU,
Right.
but the process was just kind of, everything just didn't happen when it needed to. But, you know, God can bring things back full circle.
Yeah.
And you can see what, you know, where he is now.
And sometimes it's good to get a view of the other side, you know, because some people make decisions and say, well, I wonder what it would have been like had I went here. Or I wonder what it would have been like at this. So, I mean, I think your family and Noah has the unique perspective. You always hear these HBCU versus PWI, you know, comparisons.
Right.
Fortunately, I've seen both sides.
Yes.
Which, you know, now you're able to speak, you know, unemotionally about these were the facts when I was in this environment, these were the facts when I was in that environment.
Yes, it's a beautiful thing.
So you can gain an appreciation. What about, like, I know when Isaiah went to school, I immediately noticed the level of maturity from being on the college campus. I noticed that with Noah as well. Have you noticed that, or has your conversation changed? Like I see my conversation changing from being a father that tells you what to do to giving you advice and letting you go on and make your own decisions. And that's a very different fathering that I'm growing into.
Yes, it's a very different, delicate balancing act. I'm like, hey, you know you got things to do.
Right.
So hey, just step up to the plate. Let's get this done.
Mm-hmm.
And I do it totally different. Not the resolute Terry from the past.
Right.
Hey, get this done or else.
Right.
It just doesn't work. They were way out of town.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, okay, all right, I'm on it right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a different approach. You know, soft touches, and it has to be plural. Because, you know, to get them to move sometime, it's just, yeah, and they'll lose their mind and not reach out as much. But, you know, just, it's a delicate balance in that.
So when he comes home, does he appreciate the home cooking and the food a little bit more, or is it about the same? I know he's always been an eater, but.
He wants to eat, you know, he's expecting food, you know. I'm like, you need to learn how to cook.
Yeah. How's he liking the food at Dillard?
Oh, he's loving it. He's like, this is the best food in the world. And I'm like, how many times do y'all work out a week?
I can only imagine. In Louisiana, too?
Oh, yeah. He's loving the food. So, but they do work out, man. He gets up at 5:05.
So for the people, do you see a difference in the workout regimen from Northwest than Dillard? Or is it about the same?
It's about the same, but it's different. He thinks it's more of developing you, because the good thing for Dillard is if you don't get a chance to start, they have a development team as well. So you will get a lot of games in regardless.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so we like that process where you still get to develop the kids, and the coaching staff's really nice. They're a fun group.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, good group of people.
And what do you think Calvary, when it's time to her to decide what kind of college, what do you think she'll major in? Like, if you had to guess right now, what would she major in? Think she'd be the president of the world?
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if she was poli-sci. She's so political.
Okay.
I mean, she's wired. Don't talk to her about politics if you're not really ready to discuss it.
Okay.
She's on top of it. I mean, she has a very good world view perspective, well-rounded.
Okay. You think she'll go to law school?
I don't know. These kids these days, they want to microwave everything. So I don't think you can microwave law school. No, I'm kidding. Right. Calvary actually can do whatever she wants to.
Right.
I mean, and she's thriving academically too over at St. Therese.
Okay.
She's very competitive. She's like, oh, these people made these grades. And so this year she's just pounding away. And she's like, what was Noah's GPA his sophomore year? Oh, okay, I'm going to get that, And so it's like, it's very competitive.
No,
So
that's very, very, very exciting. Mm-hmm. Transitioning back to the city, 2025. What are your hopes from Kansas City? What direction would you like to see us go in? I mean, we've done a lot of development downtown by the river. We got the soccer coming in a couple years.
Yeah.
I mean, you got the stadiums. Where are they gonna land? Development on Prospect. Like, what do you think is happening in Kansas City, and what's your vision for our city?
What? Chris, I'm not in office anymore.
I know you're not,
I know.
You're not in office, but you know what I'm saying?
No, I'm being funny, man.
Not being in office, especially when it comes to somebody like Mr. Terry Riley, you're making more things happen not being elected official than having been elected, because you can move how you want to move.
That's a good one, Chris. No, man, okay. Kansas City. I look at like the phase one of the Renaissance in Kansas City. I can remember when Kay Barnes and I were sitting down when Kay was former mayor of Kansas City, and she was like, we need a stadium downtown. Another interesting fact, I said, Kay, we got Maurice Green here, we got all these people,
right,
and we got Sprint right out there. We need to call that the Sprint Center. She's like, oh, that's a good idea, okay. I had a meeting set up, my annual meeting with Kay, weekly meeting, and most times I just walked in her office anyway, because I don't care about all that meeting stuff. But, and I came up, and they said, you have to sign a non-disclosure agreement. I said, to me with the mayor? And she was like, yeah, the person there. I said, this mayor, I was like, so I got to sign man, I walk in, guess who's in the building? Gary Forsyth.
Wow.
The CEO of Sprint. So I said, what is this about? He's like, Kay told me about your idea. We want to do it.
Wow.
And that's how we got that deal, 1.5 million.
Wow.
Yeah. We flew to LA. We met with the group that used to, the Staples Center and all that stuff, the entertainment group. We met with them about not getting a team,
right,
but bringing the Anschutz group, I forgot the name of the group, but they were the #1 entertainment venue in the world.
Okay.
And they said, don't worry about a team. We can keep that in the black. And so we were like, oh man, I don't know about this. Long story short, they're still ranked in the top 10 in the world.
For concerts and entertainment?
Yeah, T-Mobile Center now.
Wow.
#1. They vary from, go back and forth from like #5 to #9.
Okay.
And they're always packed. And they're talking about a professional women's basketball team there as well. I also had a conversation with a gentleman out of Orange County, California.
Okay.
They wanted to do a G League.
Oh, wow.
Here in Kansas City.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to set up a meeting. I think it's going to be in March with the mayor and the folks from there. They're coming out of Detroit. They want to move to Kansas City. Kansas City has a lot going on. And so, but even in that, this is what we need to think about as we build all this stuff. That $275 million facility there, when we were building that, folks were like, okay, how's the community going to benefit?
Right.
So what we ended up doing back then was we created a consortium of all the black engineering groups, Leonard Graham, John Webster, all of them. Right. They said, well, how's this going to work? I said, look, they've done this in other cities. So look, I don't know, but let's try. And they were able to build, be architects and also engineering on that Sprint Center. Made millions, a lot of them. Also, Herb Hardwick. They were like, we need bond counsel to draw up the note and do the whole deal. $275 million. Herb Hardwick was the legal counsel, and he hired an African-American female co-counsel. The entertainment district, $500 million, starting out, $700 million, Herb Hardwick. But in all of the phases of that, from the electrical, from the engineering, geotechnical, to the concrete, to the steel, we made sure that African Americans and Latino brothers and sisters were intrinsically involved in that process. So as we talk about this new stuff, and women did the women's stadium over there, largely dominated by women construction companies that did that. And so we must do these things and just on purpose and just say and not say, oh my God, can we? No, this is what we're doing.
Right.
And so as we move forward, we're looking at, of course, the stadium. They're still looking at a lot of locations. A new one just popped up in the West Bottoms, possibly for the Royals. Don't know if that's going to work. They're still looking at the place off of 12th and Charlotte, meaning you would have to get rid of the bank, the new facility over there where ATA just built. They talked about a stadium there. They even are talking about South Vine over there where V. Weiser owns all that land behind Lincoln, the castle, all the way up. But that has a development that's coming. I signed an NDA for that.
But they cut the trees down.
Yeah, we finally got that. In 3 weeks, there should be, or 4 weeks, there'll be an announcement.
Wow. It's amazing, though, when you stand on, they call it the castle on the hill. When you stand on the steps now, you can see the entire landscape of downtown. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's going to be housing and everything else over there. It's going to be beautiful. That is the best view in the city to build houses right now.
Wow.
Over there on South Vine. African-American gentleman, V. Weiser, owns it. In addition to that, the Chiefs would, the owner would roll over in his grave if the Chiefs moved out of town. Yeah. And so there's a lot of conversations going on with the Chiefs, keeping them out there, rebuilding out there, and or there's other locations around the Kansas City area as well.
Okay.
So
like when you, what years were you city council?
From 2000 to 2011.
To 2011.
I finished an unexpired term, and then I ran for two additional terms.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you look at when you started in 2000, what Kansas City downtown River Market area was then and what it is now, how do you feel about that?
I feel great about it. I mean, and it took a lot. Well, we took a lot of criticism back then as well, but it was a vision, and being able to work with someone that was a go-getter like Kay. Kay would come down. Kay was just different. You know, people, let's go meet with the mayor upstairs. No, Kay, come in. Terry, come on. We need to get this done. I'm like, okay, Kay, what do you want to do now? She's like, all right, I want to do this. I need X amount. I need some votes, Terry. And I was the vote getter. And so I would get the votes, and we would get stuff done. I can remember one bond issue we had for the city. It was like $250 million. I said, this is fine, Kay. It looks good. I need $20 million for Southeast Community Center. She's like, that's not going to happen. I said, okay. I said, we'll come back later. A week later, she came back, was like, all right, I'll give you $20 million. Boom, we put the new Southeast Community Center. It was another bond issue. Zoo was falling apart. I said, I need $30 million over here. She was like, Terry, we really, boom, we got $30 million. Then we put trails throughout the park as well. We wanted to finish Swole Parkway Health Center, that development. The money was drying up. Emmett was down there building it. He's like, Terry, T. Riley, I need to get a road through here. I want to do this. I want to do that. I drove out of town with him and Chuck Gatson back then. We went and got a grocer out of Lawrence to move in there. And so when we look back, we were able to do a lot of stuff to kind of transform the community, but I think we have much more to do. And I say we is because I did public service different. What I didn't know, I sit down with those people that were like Herb Hardwick, he did bond counsel. Then I said, man, teach me this whole thing about investment bankers. Sit down with investment bankers. Okay, I want to know about, you know, the other side of this. And so I was able to sit down with people that were experts so that it can make me more of an effective public official. Because, you know, I had a plethora of people at my fingertips that can give me advice on how I can serve the community better.
Okay. What about, switching gears slightly, but I know it's still near and dear to your heart, black dining and entertainment in Kansas City. I know, you know, Soiree closed a few months ago, and that was
The spot.
That was your spot. I mean, as a
Yeah.
lot of people, that was a meeting place.
Right.
And I think one of the challenges that we put on our black restaurants, we want them to be restaurants. We want them to entertain. We want them to have live music. And the reality is, if you go to I say a traditional restaurant. I don't know what the numbers are, but they may have 4 or 5 people in a night sit at that table.
Mm-hmm.
And we ask of our black restaurants, we want to stay here all night at this one table and listen to music and post up, where they're not able to turn those tables.
Right.
So I, as an entrepreneur, I can see the mathematics making it difficult. What do you see happening for just a nice place for people to meet up and mingle and know that you'll be in good, safe company?
Well, one place I want to give a plug out to is Urban Cafe, because I love Urban Cafe.
That was
right.
a layup for you to do that. But go ahead.
Yeah, huh? 34th right there in Truce.
Yeah, beautiful place.
Yeah, actually, a young guy that owns the place, one of the owners, was in my mentoring group at Ad Hoc, along with Melissa Robinson and Jermaine Reed, all 3 of them.
Okay.
And so I love that spot. I believe as we start to develop this next generation or current restaurant owners, we need to not only teach them how to, give them the funding to open, but give them a blueprint on how to sustain your business, how to do your books, how to order your stuff. All those different things should be part of it, and have some type of mentoring going on with it. Because that place down there has been a revolving door. No one's been able to sustain it and stay open. So I don't know. I met with Melissa Robinson a couple of weeks ago, and she was like, Terry, what could be sustainable here? Mm-hmm. So I got to try to get back with her and answer that question like you just posed to me.
Okay. Well, I know you'll help in figuring that out. 18th and Vine in general, though, I know they have major development going on.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see coming of that, and will it continue to grow?
Yeah, man, we are on the precipice of seeing that place just boom. Kelvin Simmons and his group and Leonard built that one building right there. I believe that's on 19th and Vine. At first, it was no cars in the parking lot. Now the whole parking lot is full.
Right.
People are renting out there. There's another one being built right across the street, catty-cornered. And then you have a proposed parking garage right there. And then you have the Negro League. Mm-hmm. And then if everything goes as planned with V-Wiser, you're going to see South Vine just bloom. Okay. And so there's a lot going on. It's just, everything's just happening in phases. And I think that 18th and Vine will take off.
Right. That's a good deal.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't expect you to know all things and have solutions to all the problems, but what do you see around the violence, the gun violence, the teen violence that's taking place in Kansas City? What have you, through your networking, I know it's happening across the country, are there some solutions that are going that could be used here, or are we behind, are we ahead?
Man, there's something that has to be done with mental health counseling in our community, because you just got a generation of people, man, there has to be some mental problems for you to go and kill and shoot with no regard. Yeah. And so I say, as people say they, want to get involved, 1, be a mentor. 2, parents, let's invest in our kids a little bit more than just shoes, but invest time. 3 is, don't go out looking for something new. Let's go with what we know. Right. 4 is, I think Kansas City needs to have a resource forum for young people. Mm-hmm. And everybody that does what they do, you line up over there, you line up right here, you line up right there. Instead of us trying to replicate, everybody come in with whatever your expertise is. We got all these young people coming in, and they can go by each table and see which one works best for them. Instead of all of us just doing things in silos. I think we have too many silos, and we never can get to providing the true resources necessary to help the young people in our community.
Right. Good deal. Good deal. What else you got? What other knowledge you want to drop on us today before we check out?
No, nothing. Really, I guess as I close, I remember when I first went to college, keep your eyes on the prize. Remember they were showing that? And I think we need to harken back to that as African Americans. And, you know, but for King, a lot of us wouldn't have been able to do what we do. But for King, there was no Barack, or there would have never been a Cleaver, or never been a, you know, Kamala Harris, in which Kamala Harris is the most qualified person to ever run for president of the United States in the history of our country. And I can remember when I was on the campaign trail and for Obama, and I said these things when I had to speak at a church the Cleaver spoke at, in which I was like, oh Lord, how did I end up here? And I was representing the Obama campaign, and I talked about how God does things in 40s.
Okay.
Talked about Moses, you know, out in the wilderness for 40 days. Talked about Noah out, you know, on the water for 40 days. And then talked about Jesus praying and fasting on the mountaintop for 40 days as the devil was, as the devil was trying to tempt him. But I talked about from 1968 to 2008, you know, how God has ordained things to happen.
Right.
And even with today, you know, us living in the best of times or the worst of times, but we've been here before. But we can't let people be at the leadership and not continue to fight and push forward.
Right.
There would have never been HBCUs, never been fraternities, sororities, Alpha Kappa Alpha, A Phi A. Those people continue to persevere, and it's on us as a community to keep on fighting and actually living out the dream the King talked about.
That is awesome. That is awesome. In conclusion, I just got one more thing to note. I know you spent a lot of time in this building with my dad, Carl Evans. So I appreciate you coming and stopping by to keep the conversation going. Lots of community conversations happen here. I know he was near and dear to your heart, so I appreciate you coming, and we can feel those vibes.
Oh, yeah. He was the greatest. You know, pushed me from day one. I had just went over, what you gonna do with that shirt? What you gonna contribute to this community? I was like, I don't know. I just want to wear my frat shirt. Right. But I appreciate him for challenging me, because I probably wouldn't be here right now.
Good deal. Good deal. I appreciate you.
All right. Thank you, man. All right. Thank you.
You want me to go check out?
Yeah.